Hello, my name is Ash, and welcome to another DA Talk. This time we're talking about something, or rather, someone, who we're expecting to make an appearance in Dragon Age Inquisition, and that, my friends, is the old god baby. To give the baby boy his introduction, let's start from the beginning. The old god baby originated from the Dark Ritual, proposed by Morrigan. In Dragon Age Origins, this ritual was an alternative choice for the Warden to defeat the Archdemon. Originally, the only way was for the Warden to sacrifice his or herself. The ritual's steps consisted of 1. Sleeping and conceiving a child with either the male Warden, Alistair, or Logain, and 2. Having Morrigan present during the final battle with the Archdemon. By doing so, the soul of the old god Urthemiel would pass from the dragon into the unborn child Morrigan carries, and that, in a nutshell, is the Dark Ritual. Now, the DA community has a lot of questions raised regarding the baby boy. How will Morrigan raise him? Will he be a huge factor in the Mage-Templar conflict? What comes with having the soul of an old god? And can he be the Inquisitor? Okay, I think I can answer the last question, and I will answer it with a fervent no. The baby should be around 11 to 15 years old at this point. And not only that, but there are many different races also involved. But for the other questions, the answer remains to be seen. The most we know about the child is its connection with Morrigan and the world to come. What we do know so far is that Inquisition, Morrigan's story will surface and greatly shine. Her humanity is what comes out, compared to the sarcastic, sly witch we knew in Origins. Apparently, the old god baby will bring out her humanity even more so, given the player actually decided to engage in the Dark Ritual. You can hear more about this in the interview Game Reactor did with Cameron Lee. The question goes out to you. What do you think the old god baby will do in the next game? Now, I'm throwing away the script to give you my thoughts because I will go into a little bit more detail about what I know, and based off the lore, of course, and my own thoughts. Now, for my thoughts on the use of the old god baby, not only that, but especially since so many people say, oh, well, I don't even have the old god baby, I didn't even have that option, or not, didn't have that option, but I didn't take that option. And for me, it relates a lot to a decision that you make in Mass Effect 2. I know I've mentioned this on my Tumblr and Reddit, but I do want to at least give it a little bit more light as to my thoughts on it. Now, to describe to the people that haven't played Mass Effect 2, and by the way, you should totally, because Mass Effect is pretty awesome. Mass Effect, in Mass Effect 2, you had Malon. He was a scientist who did a whole bunch of different sick and disgusting experiments on Krogans, which is a race in Mass Effect. And basically he did these sick experiments in order to cure a disease that happened. Now, the problem is, obviously, he did this testing on live subjects and who eventually died, and there was a twisted way of doing it. But the thing is that whenever you're infiltrating as Commander Shepard, you have the option of choosing to keep this data or destroy it. And it's completely up to you whether you want to do that or not. Although it's horrible and, there were some twisted ways that he got this research, you can actually destroy the data if you think that it wasn't worth it at all, or you can keep it. Now, in Mass Effect 3, the way that they had it was that Malon's data actually saved someone. I don't know if I want to actually spoil this. You know what? I might have to. Actually, probably not. Okay, basically, Malon's data saved someone. I won't say who, but basically it made an impact for keeping that person alive. And having that person alive actually changes a lot of how the Krogans are past this certain event. Oh my god, this is really hard to do. But basically, there's a huge conflict. But the only thing is that you can still have the world exist without having that data. Without having that person live because they didn't have the data in order to cure. That's the way that I view the old god baby. It's gonna have precedence. It's gonna have a weighty situation. Someone might be living, someone might be dead, but it's not going to be to the point that it's going to change the world forever. It's not a drastic decision. It's not something that we're going to be like, oh my god, the old god baby. No, I think what's going to happen is that the old god baby is going to be used in the Mage-Templar conflict as a mage, and more specifically, okay, obviously the old god baby is probably going to be a mage. I mean, it's pretty distinct. You have Morrigan, who is a mage, and if you are with the warden, that's, more mage blood for you. If you're a mage, of course, with your warden. But the way that I see it is that it's going to be used for good, or at least for the good of mages. But obviously this is my opinion. Now, the other part I wanted to also mention is that, as I mentioned earlier, you can either go with the warden, you can go with Alistair, or you can go with Logain. Now, Alistair is the actually intensively... Oh god, I don't want to even talk about it, but basically there's a huge thing in my head because... so basically, Alistair, everyone knows that not only is he royalty, he is the bastard son of King Merrick, and, he is king now. But the thing is that Alistair also has dragon blood in him, and is pre-existing for many years, and he has it flowing through his veins. Now, you're gonna have an old god baby who's a mage who has dragon's blood in his veins. That's gonna be a huge significant plot point that if the god baby doesn't die in Inquisition, I don't know how much of an effect it's going to take in further games. But it's going to, because as I believe it was mentioned in either the comics or the book, but anyone who has dragon blood infused in them, actually no, it was in the comics, and Morrigan's sister even talks about it. Anyone who has dragon blood infused in their blood, in their veins and all that, has the capacity to become great people. Obviously, the line of kings and the Theron blood. I'm just kind of curious about what's going to happen with the old god baby, because that is a huge plot point. How do you can't trivialize that. Of course, I can't even say trivialize, right? But you can't trivialize that, because if you have specifically Alistair as, Logain's a nice guy, and whatever, and your warden could be a Kuzlin, but, obviously doesn't have dragon blood flowing through their veins. It's Alistair that has the very specific point. Oh, and I completely forgot, Darkspawn blood. That's a huge plot point, because not only does the baby have Darkspawn blood, but it has maybe further down the line if, I forget his name. I can't believe I forgot his name. Whenever you're playing Soldier's Keep and you meet Avernus, that was it. And if he does bad experiments still, or even if he does good experiments and they're completely fine, he still taps into Darkspawn blood magic. So basically, the old god baby is like this huge capacity of power, and it's kind of like, well, what are you gonna do with it, BioWare? So that's my whole question. I know I wanted to answer it into what I thought about the old god baby, but now I'm just asking more questions, because I'm panicking over it, because I really don't like the idea of the old god baby, even though I totally had Alistair sleep with Morrigan. I'm so sorry. But that's my whole thought on it. Phew. Okay, so that's basically the whole conversation about the old god baby, and my whole floaty thing. Like I said, please answer in the comment section below, and I'm going to address it next time. What do you think of the old god baby, and what do you think it'll do in the next game? Now, last one that we did, and I'm just changing, I know I called it Let's Chat, but I'm just changing it all into DA Talk. I'm going to talk about one subject, and then we're going to talk about the last subject of the last video. So, last video we talked about bisexuality in Dragon Age, and also not only that, but in the comment section, we even talked about Dragon Age, Mass Effect, and other BioWare games. I think someone mentioned Coder, and then someone else mentioned, I can't remember right now. Probably it was Coder, but thank you guys for replying. I do want to raise one specific comment, and it was the idea that characters... Oh, and by the way, this is from David Gator. The comment isn't from David Gator. Someone brought it up that David Gator mentioned that characters are player sexual. That is, the characters fall in love with Hawk. The characters fall in love with the Warden. It's not just about, oh, they're bisexual, oh, they're straight, oh, they're gay. And, this is the explanation given for the characters and why certain ones are bisexual and why others are not. I think I just mentioned that. And it is a good point that I wanted to actually say, hey, thank you for, saying this. And Gator has probably expressed this into way more detail than I can actually explain in this video. But I will say, though, even though I can understand it, I think some points were not pressed upon that could have raised more discourse in this game. Like, I used Anders a lot as an explanation in the last game, and I mentioned Anders on Carl. Now, Anders doesn't even mention it to Female Hawk that he, was with Carl. And I thought that was a huge, thing that they missed into the next game. I mean, what happens if Femme Hawk found out her man likes men as well? I mean, how would the player would take it? I mean, I think there was a huge missed opportunity. And one of the things that in the panels at PAX and the devs, and whenever they were talking, they kept on saying about these missed opportunities, that there were a lot of things that they wanted to do with DA2, but they never got to do it. Now, I'm sure this could have been part of it because voice acting and romances are very expensive, but I thought it was a huge thing that was a missed opportunity, having the ability to go into discourse about, oh, I'm a female player who is in love with a male player or a male character who before had a relationship with another male character. I think that actually would be a great conversation to have because that's something that people today have a problem with. Loving someone who is bisexual, and it's just it's something that is oh, well, this is kind of weird. I think one of the things that was great was that whenever you had Zefran, he was totally open to being with a man or a woman, and he was, completely good about that. But then, he talks about it in a more realistic kind of fashion, and whenever he falls in love with someone else, it doesn't even matter. He even mentions, he lets you know what happened in wait, was it Rana? Or am I thinking of Caden's thing? Ravna? Right? Okay. Basically, Zefran's the girl that he was involved with before he met the warden. Oh yeah, I totally just said Caden's girl. But anyway, Zefran, he fell in love with her, but he still told male wardens that it happened. He still said it. And I wouldn't say he trivialized it, but he mentioned it. And that's the good point about it. Now, of course, the player didn't actually get to divulge into it or go into discourse with it. But I thought it was a really good thing to bring up. But, okay, now I'm just going to this whole tirade about that stuff. Basically, there were a lot of different things about bisexuality in the game, and I'm very thankful for everyone who left a comment and talked about it. Now, I'll do the same thing for the next game. Not the next game, the next video. It'll be, I'm not sure. I'm thinking of making this into a weekly thing. So the next DA talk, if you have any suggestions on what I should come up with. Now, I will say, someone brought up, hey, why don't you talk about the old god baby? And I said, okay. So that's why it became the subject. If you have any suggestions for the next one, please put it in the comment section below. In any case, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. And just one more thing, please join me on Saturday as I will be a guest on the Geekquisition Podcast, hosted by Scottish Warrior, Ability Drain, and Gamer MD. We'll be talking about Dragon Age Asunder, Inquisition, and more DA stuff that's relevant to your interests. So it'll start around 3 or 4 Eastern, 12 to 1 Pacific. It'll be live streamed on Twitch at twitch.tv/ScottishWarrior92. The link is in the description, so make sure to click the follow button on the page so you get the email whenever it starts. See you Saturday!